In the differential analysis, or analysis on the diffs, this is the option to provide the ability to analyze partial parts of your source code, and this is intended to have quick feedback on those diffs. So we've got it covered for this Jenkins setup, again with the same Notepad++ project. Just to give a bit more detail about the concept of diff analysis. This is the typical graph of a software development cycle where, as time goes on from design to release, the cost of defects increases, as marked by the red line. We have a high volume of defect detection that would be captured by on-the-fly analysis, which is part of the desktop features and would be set at the developer's desktop. And also on the chart is a bell graph of the distribution of defects detected as part of the integration build. We've already performed the integration build, and so where we are showing the new demo is how Klocwork can help reduce the cost of defects by doing the change analysis as part of your check-in before going into the build. The idea being is that we don't want to repeat full integration analysis to capture new defects or to verify fixed defects. We want to have the ability to analyze the source files we've changed and make sure we're not introducing new issues that we're not aware about. Again, these are issues which may not be captured by on-the-fly analysis purely because we are only looking at single translation units. So as part of the sort of summary, we have Klocwork that could be sitting on any scale of the DevOps cycle, whether you're starting from desktop or integration builds for nightly or weekly builds. But this demo is to talk about the CI ability with Klocwork and show that in the Jenkins plugin. So I'm going to switch back to the Jenkins dashboard. The build is still being run, but we'll talk about the setup on how it was done. So I've labeled this. This is the project is our Notepad++. And remembering that we did the full integration build on version 8.1, this is a job just to demonstrate the ability of what's the diff analysis if we started looking at the pre-commits to version 8.1.1. I'll go into the configuration to tell you about how that was set up. So here's that description again. This is the job to perform a diff analysis. We're going to the same repository for Notepad++. We are checking out the source files for version 8.1.1. We're doing that in a fresh workspace. So in this example, because we are checking out the complete source code, I don't want to be analyzing this complete source code. I only want to analyze what's the different files, the different source files between version 8.1 and its increment 8.1.1. So I have a trivial git diff command. We are ignoring any deleted files with this option, and we are only getting the names of the source files that have changed with reference to our previous version. So this is simulating the idea that we can just analyze the change files only and have this grepped out to a diff file list, which will be the next component for our next analysis here. Just to quickly show you what that looks like then, when you have the diff file list. Here, I'll drag. This is the output of the diff file list. So relative to the previous version, we have 25 source files that have changed. So these are the candidates that we're going to be analyzing for our diff analysis. We'll analyze these files and check if these are introducing new issues on top of what's already known from version 8.1. Next step is the actual running the differential analysis. So here I specify the build spec. Same as before, because the project hasn't changed, it is valid to use the build spec as before. But this time I'm going to tick the analyze change files, and we'll take a look at the options there. Here I'm instructing Klocwork to use the current build spec, but only analyze the files that have been declared in my diff list here. I could set this to using Git, but for the purpose of demonstration, I've set this to manual because I have manually generated my diff file list. And then towards the end, as part of like a pre-commit check-in, I'm going to have a quality control as a post-build action. So here, I'm using the same plugin wrapper to set up a differential analysis build failure. Let's take a look at the conditions in there. Here, I've just created a trivial set a warning for any new defects. Threshold is greater than 1, greater or equal than 1. And we have the option to either fail the build or fail it as unstable. So this time I'm just failing it as unstable, and I'm going to have the wrapper to report the results at the end. Let's go back and see how our build is doing. So here I'm going to take a look at the console log. So we can see the analysis has started and is in progress. If I jump to the top, we have the typical version checkout for version 8.1.1. And we are using our KDB CI agent, which is the tool dedicated for DevOps and for diff analysis, with the same version. So what we're doing here is that we are triggering the analysis with the diff file list provided here. And so we are expecting to have the analysis completed for the 25 source files. And this will be continuing on till the end here. Now, we pointed to the integration project, and we needed to have an integration project on the server already. Just to remind us, this is our integration project. Because we're only analyzing the 25 source files as referenced, we would need to get the information, again, the knowledge base from the integration build. So that's being pulled in whilst we're doing our diff analysis. We'll analyze the 25 source files in context with the integration build. Again, it's worth just reminding how we are doing this. The integration build had analyzed all the source files, and on analyzing all the source files, it creates knowledge base files, or KB files, in Klocwork. And these are essentially repositories of function behavior. They would have records of the function, the parameters, and what type of parameters they would have and what type of returns they have. For example, we can have a KB record that is describing how a function would always return 1 except if parameter 1 is null, for instance. And this is just building up a picture where we can then leverage our logical error finders for data flow and data flow analysis and path analysis as well. So the trick is that this should be a lot quicker because we're only analyzing the 25 source files and then import the KBs to fill in the wider context of the project. We'll go back to our Jenkins page. As you can see, it completed. It has marked the build as unstable, finished, so we'll take a look at why that is. So I'll go back to my differential analysis. In fact, I'll go back to the Notepad++ to demonstrate that we have the build marked as unstable and how quick it was in completing the analysis. This took less than 10 minutes. So we're making a saving on time, but we also get the fast feedback of what the issues are. We'll drill into the differential analysis to find more details. Here, we can see there's the Klocwork analysis results as declared. As you can see, there are 3 resource leaks being detected for a particular source file. As the user of this configuration build, I'd be concerned about these issues being allowed to be checked in, and these may have only arisen as a consequence of the differential analysis. And here I could make an edit to say, let's cite these. So I needed to log in to authenticate. So I've logged in as Carl Jenkins. as the user. I could then cite these issues to say that this needs attention. So for the purpose of demonstration, I'll say this needs reviewing before final release. I'll save that. And so we could drill in and see the traceback, given the steps on how it concluded to it. And so this information would also exist on the Klocwork server if the issue was reported in the Klocwork server. But as of now, we are getting the information from our local workspace from the diff analysis. And so this is showing us what the new issues would be. I've made a comment to say this should be looked at. And as of now, I would leave the job to continue. One thing I'll add is that by citing the issue, that information is being synced already to the main database on the Klocwork server. So even though these issues haven't been propagated or displayed on the Klocwork server, my action in citing the issue is being relayed to the Klocwork server. So should these issues still exist by the time a next full integration build is committed, the citations should be carried over when the defects are reported. So in summary, we'll go back to the beginning. We demonstrated using our Notepad++ and simply just using a diff of the next revision. Again, the concept can be used for feature builds and other pull requests so that you can have a consistent means of checking against groups of new files being changed and checking for any new defects prior to your final commits.